I was reading up a lot of the newspapers today as I was travelling, and I think probably a miasma of boredom crept upon me at one point, and I opened my eyes to see the word Partygate, and I misread it. I misread it. To my shame, I misread that word. And there wasn't a flicker of a smile which touched my lips, not a flicker, even beneath the beard. And it makes me think, now, why? Why? Because that word itself is quite funny. You can speculate about what it is. That word itself is quite funny, but, it makes me remember a conversation years and years and years ago with comedians about which letters were funny. Some letters were funny and some letters were not funny. K apparently is very funny. J is quite funny. P is not funny. So Knickergate would have been funny. Actually, it's it's even funny now. It's even funny now. It's sort of this is the stuff of Benny Hill, isn't it? Benny Hill was dominated by such words. And it's slightly naughty, but it's not the naughtiness as much as the letter itself, the letter of the word, the letter of the law of humour, and British humour is very much ground into the letters we use and the language we use. We're much more given to verbal humour. America is very given to slapstick and to physical humour, which tends to translate a lot better. Though oddly, of course, it was Charlie Chaplin and the Keystone People and so on who brought a lot of that humour over from the British music halls. But yeah, we tend to be very verbal in our humour, and K's are funny words, and I thought, oh gosh, we're off on another cycle. We're off on another cycle of Matt Hancock or one of his disciples, and another Gina Coladangelo searching in vain for treasures in the stationery cupboard. Ooh, missus, can I borrow your pencil sharpener? And Frankie Howard, the lure of Frankie Howard. Frankie, that's a funny name, isn't it? In itself, it was actually my name before I was adopted. So the humour lies in words. It lies in words, and particularly in English. And then I woke up fully and I realised that we were back to Partygate. We were back to the misery of waiting on Sue Gray. Sue Gray, not a terribly funny name. Cressida Dick, well, there is potential there, isn't there? And I'm sure in time, Cressida Dick's delay will be something that will be spoken of in awe. I mean, who got to her? Because her delay is almost certainly going to benefit Prime Minister and Number 10. Her delay gives people time to move on the one hand. On the other hand, it also potentially gives, the Dominic Cummings of this world the opportunity to leak a little more information, because of course all this originally comes from the pen of Dominic Cummings, doesn't it? So we know we know which comings and goings are responsible for all our present government misery, and it is misery because our country cannot get on and do what it should be doing. Our country should be challenging Russia. It should be keeping its eye on China. China is watching Russia. We're not. We're watching Boris. And so it is a good thing that Boris is now going to talk to Mr. Putin, going to go to the Ukraine. He should really go to Moscow. We would be watching Boris. Boris would lead the world. And everybody would be asking him in a news conference, about Sue Gray, and Mr. Putin would stand there looking lost. I think that would be very entertaining for us all, and a salutary lesson for Mr. Putin. I'm sure there aren't very many occasions when Mr. Putin looks completely lost. But I happen to know Mr. Putin doesn't like public appearances. He might actually wave that one along. But yes, Sue Gray and Cressida Dick and Boris. This is the scene we're looking at the moment. And into this scene, there's one name. There's one name which I think is worth mentioning, because Tom Tugendhat, I gather, has said that he would throw his hat into the ring should there be a contest for the next leader of the Conservative Party, and therefore by default for the next Prime Minister. And I think Tom Tugendhat is probably the only person who's been mentioned so far who is not smeared with the same dog dirt of corruption and sleaze and backhanders that seems to riddle the present the present cabinet and people associated with them. Either that, or the simple dullness and nastiness of them. There is a nastiness that runs through our present administration, and that I think needs to change. We need strong people, but not nasty people. We need people that we consider to be fair, not nasty, and we need people in whom we can place our trust. I could never place my trust in Liz Truss. I could never place my trust in Priti Patel. I think I would find it very hard to place my trust in Jeremy Hunt, another name that's very funny, and Dominic Raab. Well, the only thing I would place in the hands of Dominic Raab would be another bottle of Factor 10, so that he can go back onto the beach in Crete and slap it on his back, because I cannot imagine Dominic Raab has the focus to actually apply himself to the job. So Dominic Raab would certainly not get my vote. Anyway, do follow the channel. Let me know what you think. And are you, as I am, heartened to hear the name Tom Tugendhat? I am. I think we're all going to have to practice pronouncing it well, because I think it may be a name that we're going to hear again and again. Dominic Cummings, I would like that name to be history. And I really would like Sir Keir Starmer to get his act together thoroughly and bestride the world like a potential leader. He has it in him. He has it in him. You know he does.